It's been 25 years since the legendary Chicago Bulls of Michael Jordan and company disbanded, but they are still what people remembered when the Bulls are being talked about. Many Bulls teams have preceded, but no one managed to accomplish even half of what the 90s Bulls dynasty has. Over the past few years, the present Bulls have been just bad enough to leave their fans without any hope of succeeding in the playoffs. But they've also been just good enough to prevent themselves from receiving a high draft pick, selecting a top prospect, and kickstarting a new era of the franchise. In other words, mediocre. This is the NBA's purgatory, and the Bulls are stuck right in the middle of it. The best finish that these post-Jordan Bulls did was Derrick Rose and company making the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals that lost to LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and the Miami Heat. Since then, all they did were mediocre finishes season after season, and there appears no hope on the horizon. Talk about the curse of the ghost in Chicago, like the curse of the Bambino when the Red Sox traded Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees in 1920 and waited 86 years before winning another World Series title in 2004. It all started in 1998 when Bulls GM Jerry Krause specifically said to coach Phil Jackson, "I don't care if you win 82 games, you're not returning next year." And by that means no Michael Jordan either, as Jordan stated year after year that there's no him on the Bulls if there's no Phil. That actually became the basis of the Emmy Award-winning docuseries The Last Dance. Phil made the term Last Dance as the theme of the Bulls' 1997 to 1998 season, knowing that it would be his last season as coach. And that's exactly what happened. Phil Jackson retired after the Bulls won its sixth championship, and Michael, true to his words, followed suit. Scottie Pippen was then traded to the Houston Rockets, and the rest of the Bulls were either traded or signed with different teams. And just like that, the winningest team of the 1990s was done. Krause was a great GM. He was able to surround Michael with the right pieces to compete and win those championships, but he had that ability to annoy almost everyone. Jerry had the little man problem. He was always the underdog, and he couldn't control the part of him that needed credit. Organizations win championships, he once infamously said in the middle of the Bulls' championship run that made Michael's blood boil so much he retorted, "Players win championships. I don't see organizations play on the court."
Working in the front office, they were good people. But the most important part of the process is the players. So for him to say that is offensive to the way that I approach the game.
Krause had also lowballed Scottie Pippen into signing a 7-year, $18 million contract that became egregious years later after NBA salaries exploded, ironically, because of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Granted, it was Pippen's fault for not listening to his agents and even to Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf to not sign the deal, but it was the Bulls and Krause's refusal to renegotiate Pippen's contract that made Krause despicable among the team. Jordan and Pippen were so pissed at Krause that Tony Kukoc became collateral damage. The Bulls duo hounded Kukoc like a pair of hungry Dobermans during the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, getting turns guarding the Croatian forward. Kukoc then went on to become teammates with Jordan and Pippen and became a crucial part of the Bulls' second three-peat team. This animosity that exists between Krause and a lot of Bulls players and his insecurities led to the untimely demise of the greatest team ever assembled. Krause was so eager to start his very own dynasty that he dismantled the greatest franchise in history, even though it could still definitely win another 2 or 3 championships had it been given the chance to continue its dominance.
It was just sad, the fact that we could have came back and won a 4th championship very easily.
He let probably the greatest coach in history to walk into the sunset. And because of that, the greatest player in history, who's still in his prime years, was forced to retire. In the 75-year history of the NBA, there are only a handful of teams that ever won a championship. That's why franchises, past and present, hold on for as long as they can to its championship contending teams. It's rare that a team will break up its core, especially after winning a championship. In the case of the Bulls, not only did they break up a legendary team that won its second three-peat, but they were eager to break it up even before the quest for a third straight title commenced.
After the fifth championship, which was 96-97, we were looking at this team and we realized, other than Michael, the rest of the guys were probably at the end of their high productive years. We had to decide whether we keep the team together or not. And we realized maybe this was the time to do a rebuild and not try to win its sixth championship.
We're entitled to defend what we have until we lose it. If we lose it, then you look at it and you say, okay, let's change. Let's just go through a rebuilding. No one's guaranteeing rebuilding is going to be 2 or 3, 4, 5 years.
Talked about tempting your basketball fate. And now, just like what the 1920 Red Sox have experienced, it seems that the curse of the ghost in Chicago is all over the Bulls franchise. And more than 2 decades later, it still may take a little while for them to be able to break the spell. If they ever manage to break it at all,